So what we've got here, maybe from an output perspective, and maybe I'll start with that just to give an understanding of what it is ultimately that we're trying to achieve. All right, so I've got the PDF document now open in front of me, and obviously the concept would be in this regard, those Word and Excel documents that I've showed on screen before, they will be feeding the information that will be sitting in the PDF document. In that particular document, we would be pretty much adhering to the CI design style, okay, and follow what your particular company's CI would be, right? So in other words, the design pretty much comes up front and gets signed off and approved of what the elements would look like. We agree on those, and then the content forms the basis that gets plugged into the particular design style. Now, in this example that I've got here, I've just got various elements, and maybe I also just want to speak through them very quickly so that there is an understanding of ultimately what does go through a tagging process. So in the example that I've got in front of me now, I've got like logos, pictures, some forms of infographics. I've got graphs, and then I've got some verbiage content here, and then I've also got like a financial table here. So let me just maybe start with what we don't specifically tag. So in other words, we do not tag logos. We do not tag pictures. And then also we do not tag graphs. That all goes through from a layout and changing perspective, goes through a typical traditional process where that gets marked up. Now, when I'm referring to markups, those can be done either one of two ways. Either one, the document can be printed out from SharePoint and you can mark it up with pen and then scan it back and get it back into us. Or the second option via Adobe Acrobat's bubble annotation tool. Various comments can also be made and get those back to us as well. Now, just also then to continue as to what it is that we then specifically tag. So from a tagging perspective, we do tag content, so in other words, actual verbiage. We will tag financial tables. And then from an infographic perspective, you'll see I've got two infographics here. The topmost one, which is representative of the salient features. And then the bottommost one that I've got here in this particular example is more of an infographic in the line of, in this case, the core values. Now, we do distinguish in between the two. And of course, we will consult with you as to whether or not the particular content that's needing to be displayed, even if in an infographic, whether or not that will go through a tagging process or not. Now, the reason for that would be very specific in that the salient features, it isn't an infographic style. So in other words, what's happening here is I've got content and it's overlain on top of these little bubble pictures, okay? We will go through a tagging process of this particular content due to the fact of the nature of the content's likelihood to change. So in the bottommost infographic, here what we've got is a little bit of a different situation because this core values is something that will not change, or it's not very inclined to change the nature of the content. So sometimes when an infographic is needing to be designed, the content will be supplied, it will then be designed by our designers, and at that stage, if there is going to be no further content changes, or hardly any content changes, and the likelihood of that changing, then we'll put it through a static process of just designing it. But of course, we will be in consultation with you to find out the likelihood of the content changing. So in this case, what you then actually see is I've got two types of infographics, one where content is inclined to change versus a much static representation where this content here is not tagged and is not going to change.